Hello, my name is HQ of HQ Reacts. Welcome to my channel. Please do me a favor. Hit the like button, share the stream, and click the notification button for new content.
Hello, 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 hello. This is the beautiful Tuesday. And we are here talking about voting rights and what's happening tomorrow. Right? Let's get this to the stage. All right, what's going on?
The Supreme Court is hearing an important case about the Voting Rights Act, which is aimed at addressing persistent effects of discrimination against minority voters. The case concerns the congressional map in Louisiana. There are currently 2 majority black districts, and one of them is at issue at the Supreme Court. The state of Louisiana drew a map after the 2020 census with just one of its 6 districts having a black majority in a state that is about 1/3 black. Civil rights plaintiffs sued over the map. They won a decision in lower federal courts. And then Louisiana drew a new map, creating a second black majority district that also had the effect of protecting important Republican incumbents in Congress, including House Speaker Mike Johnson. White Louisianans sued over the new map, and they won a lower court ruling that map was itself racially discriminatory against white voters. The Supreme Court initially heard arguments in March, but did not reach a decision. Instead, the justices asked for a new round of arguments, which is a rare occurrence at the Supreme Court that sometimes suggests that the justices are about to make a major change in the law. This is the court's latest case that involves gerrymandering, which is the practice of drawing electoral districts with a particular result in mind. This case involves drawing districts with race in mind. And so far, the court has allowed some consideration of race in the drawing of districts at the state, local, and federal level. The Louisiana case being considered at the Supreme Court now could make it harder, if not impossible, to draw such districts if the court's conservative majority is receptive to arguments made by both the Trump administration and the state of Louisiana.
Now, tomorrow they hear oral arguments for this Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Now, we definitely do not want them to abolish Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Otherwise, the redistricting that is going on now in Texas and every other Republican state will draw the lines where black and brown voters won't have a say in their local governments, and they won't have representation in federal the House and the Senate.
The United States Supreme Court will hold a hearing this week regarding the congressional maps of Louisiana. The court will hear arguments in the case of Calais versus Louisiana. This case originates from dispute in 2022 regarding a congressional map at that time. A group of black voters filed a lawsuit in federal court claiming the map violated the Federal Voting Rights Act, which prohibits voting practices or procedures which discriminate based on race or color.
A federal district court sided with the black voters and barred the state from using the map for future elections. The Louisiana legislature would later draw a new map in 2024 known as Senate Bill 8, which created a second majority black district. But a group of non-black voters argued the same congressional map was an unconstitutional racial gerrymandering, which weakens or suppresses the voting power of a specific racial group. The court will hear arguments from both sides to determine if a state can violate the 14th or 15th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution when drawing election maps to comply with the Voting Rights Act. The hearing will be held on Wednesday.
So that's happening tomorrow. Tomorrow. They're hearing the arguments tomorrow. So, hold on. Let me move myself into a big screen right there. Okay, we in the big screen. Okay, we there. So, guys, since the beginning, since the founding of this country, right? The right to vote has never been easy for women. You know that. Been easy for black people or brown people. We know that. So in the early days, the ballot box was reserved for 21-year-old white men, landowners only, a small, very small privileged group that decided the fate of all of us, right? But as America grew, right, so did our understanding of the democracy, understanding of the votes, people that were required to vote. So we learned how to get the real freedoms required for participation. So that meant participation had to open up, and so we had to give voting rights to everybody. Okay, that's why we have the voting laws. Okay, they exist because history said that without those people who are in power will silence the voices of the people who need to be heard the most. So from poll taxes, literacy tests, modern forms of voter suppression, all kinds of people are going to start trying to suppress the vote for this 2026 election that is coming up. So there's been a concentrated effort to make it harder for certain groups, especially black, brown, poor, and young, to be heard. So this is where we are at right now. And most people don't know. And I don't know whether I heard something about Charlie Kirk was advocating against the Voting Rights Act of 1964 or not. And I can't remember whether he was or not advocating for that. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, the Voting Rights Act, this is the Voting Rights Act. Where did the voting rights, how did it come to be? Voting rights are the legal rights that protect citizens' ability to participate in elections, to register, to cast a vote, and to have votes counted fairly. They're a cornerstone of our democracy because they ensure that everybody's vote matters, regardless of race, gender, income, and background. But that wasn't always the case, right? So the beginning in the late 1700s, okay, when the United States was founded, voting was not for everybody. Not everybody could vote. Only white men, usually people that were over the age of 21, could vote. The Constitution didn't originally define who could vote. That was left up to each individual state. As a result, early voting was extremely restricted and excluded for most Americans, except white men. That's why I said to y'all that this country was built for white men. So I don't understand how somebody like Charlie Kirk was walking around talking about white men were the victims of whatever the hell they were talking about being a victim of. I still don't understand white people being the victims when this country was founded or this country was made and developed for them. So I'm still confused about that. So as a result, early voting was extremely restricted, excluded mostly all of us, including women, black people, brown people, Indians, Native Americans, poor white people who didn't own land. Okay. Voting was excluded for these people. Okay. So through amendments that we got, Amendment 15, which came along in 1870, after the Civil War, the amendment was made, and it made it legally made it illegal to deny voting rights based on race and color. Okay. However, many states used poll taxes, literacy tests, and intimidation to keep black people from voting from the polls for nearly 100 years. The 19th Amendment. So the 15th Amendment, the 19th Amendment granted women the right to vote after decades of suffering. The 24th Amendment was 1964. That ended the poll taxes in federal election, which had been used to keep poor and minority voters from voting. The Voting Rights Act of 1965. This was one of the most powerful civil rights laws ever passed. Okay. It outlawed discriminatory practices like literacy tests, required states, mainly the southern states, to get federal approval before changing voting laws, and led to massive increases in black voter registration and participation. Amendment 26, that was in 1971. It lowered the voting age from 21 to 18. Something to do with the war draft. Okay, if you're old enough to fight, you're old enough to vote. Okay, so even today, the voting rights are still being debated and fought over. Voter ID laws, purging of the voter rolls. Every time we get this same bullshit that happens through the Republicans, mostly the Republicans, where they want to change the voter ID laws, they want to purge the voting rolls, they want to limit polling access, date times and dates and all this other kind of crazy stuff. Okay, they always wanted to, if a true robust electorate shows up to vote, the Republicans will lose because they have shitty policies. So in 2013, okay, the Supreme Court, Shelby County versus Holder, right? They struck down a part of the 1965 Voting Rights Act, removing the requirement that some states get federal approval before changing their voting law. So in 2013, the Supreme Court shot that down, saying that states didn't need federal approval to change their voting laws. Since then, there have been new disputes over gerrymandering, which is the problem we're having today, because the Republicans are trying to change their maps now so they can get more, so they can eliminate black and brown voters or eliminate black and brown districts so that their districts are favorable for them, because they understand that they have a shitty up here battle to win in 2026. So now they're starting to cheat. If they can't win legally, they can't win fairly, the Republicans are going to cheat. Okay, so since then, there have been new disputes over the gerrymandering, the mail-in vote, access of minority and disabled voters. All of these things have come up. Okay, in short, voting rights protect the voice in democracy. So we want to protect those at all costs. Okay, we want to protect those at all costs. 1776 to 1800, only white males 21 years or older could vote. 1856, North Carolina became the first state to remove property ownership requirements for white men. 15th Amendment came along first. 19th Amendment, 1924, the Indian Civil Citizenship Act granted U.S. citizenship to Native Americans, allowing them to vote. 24th Amendment ends poll taxes. in federal elections, which kept the poor people and minorities from voting. 1965, the Voting Rights Act came along. Landmark registration. Law registration from President Lyndon B. Johnson. Outlaws literacy tests. Requires certain states with histories of discrimination to get federally approved before changing voting law. 1971, the 26th Amendment. 1982, strengthened the Voting Rights Act. 2013, the Supreme Court weakened the Voting Rights Act. Okay. 2020, there's always been an ongoing debate, new fights over voter ID laws. Okay. So here we are tomorrow. Tomorrow we are going to hear the most important part of the Voting Rights Act. Okay. This Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Okay. And it's all because of something that happened in Louisiana. Wait a minute, I forgot. Something happened in Louisiana. It was in the video where they wanted to change the maps, and they wanted to change the gerrymandering map. And so the Supreme Court heard it earlier this year, but they said they weren't going to hear it until tomorrow. So now they're going to listen to the oral arguments tomorrow. Okay. And here's the thing. You are not supposed to change your maps, districting maps. You're not supposed to change those maps except every 10 years after the census. But more and more, we've gotten Republican governors to start changing those maps ahead of time. It's illegal, but by the time voting comes around and they go to court to fight against this, the voting has already occurred. Okay. So right now, this is what we have. We have I think it was sometime this week, or this week last year. Was it last year? No. It was some kind of way in which Donald Trump got in touch with the Republicans. And the Republicans decided that they were going to change the maps for redistricting, so that they could take more representation from the black districts in Texas and Louisiana. Okay. So now this is where we're at tomorrow, and we're hoping that we don't get number 2 or the Section 2 knocked down. Because if we get the Section 2 knocked down, then that means every other state can start changing their map to any way that they want to change their map. And they can change gerrymandering to do whatever they want to do in gerrymandering. And that doesn't bode well for black and brown people and people in minority places. Okay? It doesn't bode well for that. So so Supreme Court is hearing the arguments it's called Louisiana versus Calais or something like that. Calais. It's a case about congressional district maps in Louisiana that may reshape the future of the Voting Rights Act. Oral arguments are tomorrow. Okay? So all of the people involved on the left and the right, they have submitted their supplemental briefs, or they will be submitting their supplemental briefs on whether the maps violate the 14th and the 15th Amendment, which protects equal protection and voting rights based on race. Okay. A decision, I guess, is expected next June. It's expected then. Okay. Also, there's also another case in Illinois before the Supreme Court concerning an Illinois law. Okay. Now, what's at stake? What's at stake? That we need to strengthen the law, the Voting Rights Act, especially Section 2. Okay. Especially Section 2. Yeah. But the whole point is, they're trying to change the map because their shitty Republican policies are not working for the people. That's why they're trying to gerrymander the maps. Okay. That's dumb as hell, Unbreakable with Chris. You sound dumb as hell. Do you know that? Okay, so we're trying to strengthen the Voting Rights Act, Section 8, which is a key part of the Voting Rights Act that prohibits voting practices that discriminate based on color or race, even if there's no explicit discriminatory intent. If the court rules that any use of race in drawing the map violates the Constitution, or that Section 2 is unconstitutional, the protections minority voters currently have could be severely weakened. Many current and historical legal challenges against discriminatory district maps depend on Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. If the Voting Rights Act gets gutted, the legal tools to challenge the vote dilution would shrink drastically. Then you would have minority representation and political power that would reduce your political power for Black and brown people all over the land, all over in every state. The map under dispute involves creating a second majority Black congressional district in Louisiana. That's the Louisiana fight to comply with earlier court rulings. Okay. If the Supreme Court rules in favor of the challengers, the people who said it's unconstitutional, those who saw the new map is a racial gerrymandering, I guess, it might force Louisiana and the other states to draw maps in a way that reduces or eliminates districts where minority communities reside. So we're hoping that they either strengthen the Voting Rights Act Section 2 or they get rid of Section 2. It's still needed because we're looking at it in real time. It's needed because we're looking at it in real time. Because minority districts lean towards one party. Okay, fine and dandy. Then that one party needs representation. We can't all be, nobody wants to be a Republican that ain't a Republican. It just ain't gonna happen. Most people who aren't Republicans don't want to be Republicans. Okay. So weakening those protections could allow more aggressive gerrymandering in favor of the opposing party. So we don't want Section 2 to go away. Okay. And there's a bunch of constitutional questions that come along with them touching the 14th Amendment, which is equal protection, and the 15th Amendment is the right to vote regardless of the race. So it may limit or permit states' use of race it may eliminate that, and then we won't have the representation we're supposed to have. Okay, so a ruling can change in the ruling can overturn precedents on when race can be considered in district drawing. So we have to see what the argument, who makes what effective argument. Okay, who makes the most effective argument? Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is really at the heart of almost every major voting rights case, including the one that's before the Supreme Court. Okay. So Section 8 says no voting law, rule, or practice may be used by any state or local government in any way that results in discrimination against voters on the basis of race, color, or membership in a language minority group. Basically, what it says is no one can change voting rules or draw district maps in a way that weakens the voting power or racial ethnic minorities. Okay. It applies to voting procedures, registration, early voting, mail-in ballots, all of that. District maps, how lines are drawn for Congress, state legislatures, and city councils, and election methods, like a large versus single district voting, etc., etc. Even if a law or a map doesn't say race outright, right, it can still violate Section 2 if it has the effect of diluting minority voters or making it harder for certain racial groups to elect their preferred candidates. Okay? But the whole point is, we have a problem if this gets taken off the map. Okay? To prove a Section 2 violation in redistricting, courts use what's called a Jingles test from 1986 Supreme Court case. Minority voters must show three things. They are large and compact enough to form a majority in a single district. They are politically cohesive, meaning they tend to vote for similar candidates. And number three, the majority votes as a bloc to usually defeat those candidates. If all three of those criteria are met, the court may require the state to redraw its map to ensure minorities have a fair chance to elect candidates of their choice. So that's what I hope. Okay. So people say Section 2 is essential for stopping racial vote dilution and ensuring minorities have real representation. Critics say that using race to draw maps, even to help minorities, can itself violate the Constitution's Equal Protection Clause. The current Supreme Court's conservative majority has shown interest in narrowing how Section 2 can be used, which could make it harder to challenge gerrymandering or discriminatory maps. Okay, so Section 2 is the main legal weapon protecting minority voters from being silenced through redistricting or unfair election laws. If the court weakens that Section 2 tomorrow, it could reshape how racial fairness in elections is enforced. So, this is what we got going on right now. Donald Trump called up Texas. Donald Trump publicly and privately urged Republican-led states, Texas, Missouri, Indiana, to redraw congressional maps, even though it's illegal to do so, except in the year 00, that ends in 0, the years that end in 0. 2020, 2030, 2040, etc., etc. The next real redistricting is supposed to be in 2030. Okay? But Donald Trump called up Republican voters, Republican-led states. And he said, I need 5 seats, I need 6. So what they're going to do is they're going to redraw the map, and they're going to redraw the map so that the map, instead of it being a smaller district that represents the black and brown communities in Texas, they're going to redraw the map so it's in one of the bigger white districts, so that the black and brown people in Texas won't really have any representation in the Congress. So, and then they'll withdraw it to the white district that's Republican and get rid of the Democratic ones. That's what he called up and said. I need 5 seats. That's what they're doing. It's illegal. Okay? But by the time the Supreme Court or the courts hear it, it's going to be too late, and it's going to be already drawn. Okay? So that's what's happening. Okay? So Texas Republicans passed a new redistricting map backed by Trump, which aims to shift 5 congressional seats to Republicans. Missouri, also in a special session, which they called, a new map was passed that dismantles safe blue Democratic districts. So here's the thing. The Republicans know they got shitty policy. They know they got shitty policies. They know they don't have anything for the American people. So they're going to try to redraw the maps, try to steal the election, try to make everybody vote Republican. So there's no so they can win, they can continue to win races if they gerrymander the states. This is how they plan to win. They want the Voting Rights Act, the Section 2, to be off the books. Because if it's off the books, that means they can change the map to not include black and brown people. I don't know what you're talking about, group reparations. I don't know what you're talking about. So this is what they plan to do. They plan to redraw the map so all the black and brown people know that the stealing the election, that didn't happen in 2020. You're delusional, Pat. They're trying to steal the election by redistricting the map. That's why Donald Trump called up Texas and Missouri and said, hey, I need you to get rid of them 5 black districts that are Democrat and get me 5 districts that's Republican. So that when the midterms come around, we hoping that everybody done forgot what shitty policies we got. People done forgot what shitty, stop, Osmos, what did I tell you about doing the what aboutism? We are talking about Texas gerrymandering and the Voting Rights Act. We're not talking about Gavin Newsom. I swear to God, you right people cannot stay on topic. Y'all cannot stay on topic. We are not talking about Gavin Newsom or Crockett or nobody else. We're talking about this district map where they're going to change the district maps to cut out black and brown districts that have representation. So if they shoot down Section 2, okay, of the Voting Rights Act, that will give them carte blanche to change the districting maps, even though the maps should only be changed every 10 years after the census. Okay, after the census, that's the only time it's supposed to be redrawn, is after the census. The census happens every 10 years. That's every zeroth year. 2020, 2030, 2040, 2050. You got the idea. Every 2 years only. But they're redoing it now, okay, because they want to steal the election from the Democrats, or they want to make sure that they are in power in the House of Representatives by flooding the House of Representatives with Republicans. But it's against the law, Gary. That's the whole point. It's against the law. Okay, but every time it comes up to court, it's too late, and they've already changed the map. So it's not again. So this is a very important ruling that they're supposed to have tomorrow. The oral arguments are tomorrow for the Voting Rights Act, which is tomorrow. Okay. So the whole point is Donald Trump called up. He said, we want you to pass this new redistricting map. Accusations of diluting racial minority influence. Of course, every person that went against Donald Trump, they're eliminating their district in the House of Representatives. So this president doesn't want to have any opposition to what he's doing. I still haven't gotten in the chat anybody who has put in the chat what Donald Trump has done for them out of the big beautiful bill. I haven't seen that. No, the Democrats have not been doing it for decades, Pat. Go do your research. I'm not going to do your research for you. Stop spouting lies. Please stop doing that. So, critics argue that these map proposals aim to dilute the voting power of the black and brown and other minority communities. Okay, so if you break up the the coalition districts, we're going to get discriminated against when it comes to voting. Okay, redistributing voters into districts where their vote is less likely to decide the outcome. This is where they're going to put other people. They ensure more safe Republican districts where minority voters have less impact. So this is where that's going to be going. Okay. See, here's the thing. When your policies are shitty, and Republican policies are always shitty because it's not based on anything that people want. It's always based on the culture war. And when policies are always based on the culture war, you don't know how to govern. They don't know how to govern. It just is what it is. We want things to benefit the people. We're not talking about what you vote against. You have to have things that you're supposed to be voting for. When the Republicans know they have shitty policies, when they know they got shitty policies, and when they know they finna lose the election, then this is when they start cheating. This is when they start cheating, redrawing the map, telling bold-faced lies, X, Y, and Z. This is when they start doing that. I just want y'all. Right now is October. I just want y'all to take note. Take note of the shit that they're saying right now. Their policies have not benefited anyone. That big beautiful bill did not. That big beautiful bill did not benefit any regular, average, everyday, normal Republican. It did not benefit you, not one bit. Can't nobody tell me who it benefited. It only benefited the rich. So they know that they have shitty policies. I don't know why the Republican people don't know they got shitty policies, but they got shitty policies. Okay? And Trump knows he's got shitty policies. That's why they have to change the laws in order to benefit them, because they know they can tell the wave is coming where the independents move away from them. Okay? You don't have any money in your pocket, Gary. Stop lying. If you don't make over 150K, you ain't one of us. You ain't one of the regular people. I'm talking about the people from 30,000 to 150,000. Those are the people I'm talking about. I'm not talking about you. Because if you in that middle, if you in the middle of 130, 150, he didn't help you not one bit. Because we're in that group too, Gary, and you didn't help us. He didn't help us do nothing. So stop lying. So, well, wait till your medical insurance rises in the next month or two. You're gonna be crying like a baby then. So he knows, Donald Trump knows his policies are shitty. He knows that. So now they start lying. So I'm just telling you all to look at what's going on. They're trying to gerrymander the maps. They're trying to change all of these things because they know they're going to lose. They know that people are turning against them. Okay? Even though they're doing the same damn thing to us here. I'm here from Missouri, but I'm sure you don't want to hear from me. Whatever Republican state is doing is change. They trying to change the map. They trying to change the map because Donald Trump already called them up. Donald Trump called them up. He publicly and he privately told Republican leaders, Texas, Missouri, and Indiana, to redraw their congressional maps mid-cycle, not wanting to wait until 2030 like they were supposed to increase Republican representation. I told you, Osmos, you got to start reading. You can't be spouting nonsense in the damn chat. You can't spout nonsense in the chat. You don't have facts to back up the nonsense. That's the problem. Okay? That's the problem. Stop spouting nonsense. Have your facts. The whole point is They want a clean bill. But if they get a clean bill, that means your premiums go up triple and double. What part of that don't you understand? Yes, of course, they all gerrymander. They're only supposed to gerrymander every 10 years. Gary, how many times do I have to say that? They all do it, but they only can do it on those even years, those 10 years. Otherwise, it's illegal unless it's in their constitution. It's in their constitution of the state. Okay? But you're not listening. Donald Trump just called them up and told them to redistrict so that they can get more Republican votes for 2026. That's against the law. It's illegal. What alternative, Triple X? You don't vote for the person that harms. You don't vote for the person that harms other people and don't recognize other people's humanity. That's what you don't vote for. You don't vote for the person that doesn't recognize other people's humanity. What do you mean? What is the alternative? Anything besides that person is the alternative. What do you mean? So the whole point is, in 5 to 10 years, yes, I'll vote again. Okay. And that's why I told that. And that's why I said, you Republicans, you don't stand for anything. You don't stand for anything. You have nothing that you stand for. I don't ever see you all standing for anything. You never stand for anything. It's always hate black, brown, trans, or gay. It's or abortion. It's always, I hate the people who do trans, gay, abortions, black or brown. It's always something that you hate. It's never something that you want, that you're for. It's never something that y'all for. You never stand for nothing. Okay? Y'all hit the like button. No, you never stand for anything. Son of cool. You just flipped it to something else. You don't have nothing that you stand for. Ain't what children? The poor children that go to school without meals? You mean those kids? Okay, I'm for those kids. The ones that go to school without food, I'm for them kids. But I ain't for no kids that ain't here on the planet. I ain't here for no fictional kids. No, the Republicans, they don't stand for anything. You don't stand for anything. You hate against other things. You hate. You the party of hate. That's the problem. You don't recognize other people's humanity. You only go against black, brown, Hispanic, black, brown, immigrants, trans, and gays, and people who have abortion. You're against all of those things, but you never tell me what you're for. You never tell me what you're for. And that's why I say y'all don't stand for anything, because you never tell me what you're for. You're always telling me what you don't like. You're always telling me what you hate. Okay? Oh, no, I'm not making that up. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying. No, I don't need to get no facts. I get it. Every time you guys talk, the first thing y'all say is, I'm for abortion. I'm for the people who don't have an abortion. Those are kids that ain't even here. I'm talking about stuff that's on the earth. I'm talking about stuff that's here. That's something that you're against. Okay? It's always about the hate. It's never about something that you want. It's never about something that you want. It's always about something that you hate. It's never about that. But that's okay. That's your group. It is what it is. We know that's what y'all are. We know you hate immigrants, you hate trans, you hate gays, you hate browns, you hate blacks, you hate people who have an abortion. I get all that. You're never for anything other than something to hate. I get it. Okay. No, but this is what Donald Trump did. So It is what it is. Okay. Our fate is decided. Our fate will be decided next week, or whenever this case is done being heard. I think they already got a decision for the case. I think they already done had a decision made, and so I don't think it. I'm hoping that it makes a difference. Okay, we hoping that it makes a difference, but don't nobody know. Nobody knows what the hell is going on. So we can only hope. With no lube behind the trash can. Shut up. What about Black Baby? Black Baby, son of cool. I care about babies on this planet, not ones that may be born, not ones that may be coming out. You don't stand for anything. If you only thing you stand against is somebody who might have an abortion, you don't stand for anything. And I don't believe you. I don't believe you. But that's why I'm not a Republican, because you don't stand for anything. You have hate. Everything you hate. You hate the trans. You hate the gays. You hate the brown. You hate the black. You hate people who have an abortion. You never stand for anything. There's nothing that you want to stand for. It's not like you say I stand up. I stand up. No, you know what I stand up? I stand for. I don't like gay people. I mean, I don't deal with gay people. I don't deal with trans people either. I am for my veterans, poor kids, the elderly, the handicapped. So I am for those four things. I am for those four things. What things are you for? What are you for? Okay? What are y'all for? Because all I hear you say is, oh, the Democrats just wanted to deal with the gays and the trans. So you don't like browns, you don't like gays, you don't like trans, you don't like abortion. It's all the things that you hate. It's all the things that you don't want. I don't hear none of y'all say nothing about what you stand up for. Not one thing. I've not heard none of y'all say nothing about things that you stand up for. I just heard you hate X, Y, and Z. I hate gays. I hate trans. I hate abortion. I hate black. I hate brown. I hate the illegals. That's all we hear y'all say is we hate. That's all we hear over here is y'all hate. Y'all don't stand for nothing. I get it. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not gonna argue about what you stand for, because I know y'all don't stand for any, because I haven't heard one person in there say y'all stand for anything. Okay, then you stand for the rich. That's something. At least you stand for the rich. That's a good thing. Okay. Why do you care so much for reborn? I don't know. I mean, I worry about people having abortion too, but that ain't gonna make me turn away from helping poor kids on this earth, disabled veterans on this earth, handicapped on this earth, elderly. That's not gonna turn me away from the Democrats because they have abortions on that side. I don't have no abortions, so I don't give a fuck whether you do or not. But this party does X, Y, and Z. But it's okay. It's okay. It's the part we understand. Most of us think you're the party. Most of us think the Republican, you're the party of hate. We just think you are, because you don't stand for anything. Because there's no way that you could have stood for poor kids, the handicapped, our veterans, and voted for that big beautiful bill and been okay on that big beautiful bill. There's no way you could have stood for that and called yourself standing for anything if you voted, you wanted that big beautiful bill. There's no way. I'm happy for you, Juan. Why don't you go over there and start dealing with Nick Fuentes and deal with him? What you over here talking to me for? Oh, I don't know what echo chamber. I don't understand what you mean. I'm just saying you guys stand for nothing. That's all I'm saying. It's okay. I get it. So I have to turn ourselves to this. Let me show you this. Okay. This I found the other day. I don't know what's going on, but this is what's going on. I don't know what's going on. but it gave me a little bit of hope. It gave me a little bit of hope, just a little bit of hope. And I hope people look at it and, it gave me a little.
People like me don't usually come on here. I'm not the camera type. I'm toothless. Don't care about that. Don't care if any of you got anything to say about that. But I'm tired of keeping my mouth shut. Charlie Kirk's death sparked outrage with a lot of people that normally stay quiet. But I just don't give a fuck no more. Any of you Democrats, don't come near me. We don't want nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you. And if you think that you can just do whatever you want, whenever you want, and then try to hide behind the Bible when we say we want to retaliate and say that we aren't living God's word. Well, neither are you. And we are living God's word. We are God's army. And God will get his revenge on you, not us. He will do it through us. But just know, you Democrats, you lunatic lefties, gonna get what's coming to you. You can't do people wrong in life like you guys always do and think you're gonna get away with it. Karma is a bitch.
Why do we think that Trump is talking about heaven again?
Who cares? Hey, I have a question for you. Why are you blocking people of color, black women specifically, for coming on this app and telling you that, hey, you're not ready to lead any movement or revolution? You cannot claim to be an authority on cults and manipulation just to turn around and platform a white man who was just a few weeks ago spewing hate towards every single person he could fucking think of and call that unity. And you certainly can't center his redemption story, but then block every black woman who tells you that he's not ready to leave, while also tokenizing the 1 or 2 black women who came on here and told you, hey, don't give up, this is important work that you're doing. When people who have lived through the harm of white supremacy say, hey, pump the brakes, hold up, this isn't safe, your first reaction is to block them? You're not safe. Honey Badger, you are not a safe person. And the fact that you are trying to prioritize your white feelings and restoring old America's white feelings over the safety of black people in this country tells me that you and this whole purple revolution was always just a rebrand of the same old, tired, racist
Purple Revolution. I have some more thoughts on it. So it came out that the architect of the Purple Revolution is a 3%er. He was wearing a 3%er shirt. For those who don't know what are 3%ers, they're a white supremacist hate group. And the person that wanted to unite the left and right was wearing a white supremacist shirt while he was trying to call for unity. Now, I am a big Star Trek fan. One of my favorite series is Voyager. There was an episode on Star Trek Voyager that really embodies what this Purple Revolution was for me. Now, Captain Janeway was trying to get her crew home from the Delta Quadrant to the Alpha Quadrant, but they had to go through an alien racist space called the Borg. The Borg alien race is a perfect example of colonization. What they would do would enter other alien space, kidnap and assimilate people, and take over their planets. Whether you wanted to join the Borg or not, you had no choice. They came, they assimilated, they took, and they continued on. So for the crew of Voyager to get home, they would have to go through Borg space, which would have been very dangerous for them. But they had found a passageway where they thought that they can go around the Borg and not have to deal with them at all and continue their way home. When they got to that passageway, they found another alien race called Species 8472. Species 8472 was worse than the Borg. And the Borg and Species 8472 were at war. Now, mind you, the Borg is a very powerful race, but Species 8472 was more powerful and more dangerous, not only to the Borg, but to every other species in the universe. So Captain Janeway came up with an idea. She wanted to build an alliance with the Borg, since the Borg was losing the war with Species 8472. So she went to a Borg cube and she talked to them and said, hey, we know how to destroy Species 8472, but we want safe passage through your space. We will give you the technology to destroy your enemy, but give us safe passage through your space. No assimilation.
I'm not going through that whole thing. I don't like that. I don't like that Borg thing. The Borg thing is weird.
That's exactly how I felt when I saw that man's video. The minute they would have reached their goal, they would betray everyone on the left and continue the hateful nonsense that the 3%ers do. When it's in their nature to betray, you do not trust them. Now, after 7 of 9 was disconnected from the Borg, it took her years to regain her humanity. Captain Janeway didn't just let her lead the minute she was disconnected. That goes for those who left the cult of Trump. They're going to have to work and deconstruct a lot before they can even be considered leaders. Just because the orange buffoon policies are now affecting them and they regret their vote doesn't mean they can lead us into any revolution, especially when it's in their nature to betray. The ones that don't betray are the ones that sit there and do the work, deconstruct, listen to black and brown voices, listen to the LGBTQIA plus communities, take the time, do the work, and that takes years. Great that they're waking up, but they don't get to lead us into anything. Again, like I say in my videos, they get to sit way in the back at the kids' table. They don't get to break bread with us. And we are definitely not going to stand behind them. They have to do the work. Point blank and period. I thought that episode on Voyager was a great example of why a lot of black people were like, no, because it is in their nature to be hateful and evil and cruel. You have to unlearn those behaviors. And they haven't unlearned any of that.
That's the whole point of the Purple Revolution, which has been started over there, I guess, on TikTok, right? It's a revolution over there on TikTok. It's called the Purple Revolution, where we mix blue and purple, okay? And a lot of people are over there joining that movement. But it was started by that initial guy, that first guy said, you lefties. Because after Charlie Kirk was killed, he didn't believe that Charlie Kirk was killed by Tyler Robinson. He didn't believe a lot of things. So he came on here and he's been upset ever since. And he started this Purple Revolution. Okay? Here he is again after this.
Let's start a new trend. No Republican, no Democrat, no Independent. No more parties. Let's unite.
When are we going to learn that demanding a response from Knitting Cult Lady like she owes you one is not the thing? I do not owe you a response about the Purple Revolution. No, I don't even know this discussion about me is going on because I do not look at the mentions for my own mental health. Maybe think about that in this parasocial relationship as well. It's very easy to know how I feel about things if you spend time here and listen.
I didn't want to show her picture, but...
Okay, on to another video. So I understand people...
This is the guy who is a Republican. And he wants to start the Purple Revolution where we, as the poor people, overthrow the government, the rich people. We try to overthrow the rich people. This guy, he's a Republican. So, listen.
Are in dire need of this to move forward. I understand that there's a lot happening in this country right now. What people have to understand is we have one shot at this. One shot. And we all have to understand that we are going after the most rich, powerful, and elite people in this world. This is no matter to take lightly and going guns a-blazing. If we move too quick and we fail, the consequences are going to be catastrophic. Catastrophic. These are the biggest, most powerful people in the world that we are.
The problem with this man and the movement is okay. He says he says he wants a movement where it's Republicans and Democrats, and we move against the powerful. I said that a couple weeks ago. We do what we can to put those people out of office. And we do what we can to get other people in the office that represents us. Okay? That's what he's saying. But the problem is, he doesn't recognize that all of us have humanity, just like the rest of you, just like a lot of you in the comment section right now. Don't seem to recognize the humanity of people. We don't have a discussion to make if you don't recognize that LGBT people need to have rights. We don't have a revolution if you in the comment section don't understand that gay people deserve rights. It's a non-starter for me if you don't understand that poor people have rights. Okay? It's a non-starter.
Attempting to take down. If people think that this is just going to be something where these people are going to roll over and just say, okay, everybody's mad at us, we're just going to lay down and give them what they want, I don't think you're in the right place. Because this is going to get very messy. This is going to get very dicey. These people have all the technology, all the money, and all the power at their fingertips that they need. If we make the wrong move at the wrong time, without being as calculated and well thought out and as well put together as this needs to be, this is going to turn into a bloodbath. I don't want people to be afraid to take up arms, because I want people to understand something very clearly, that if this does not happen peacefully and they're not willing to come to the table with us and change things peacefully, we are going to have to take up arms, or our life will never change. So I need people to understand the gravity of this movement, of this revolution, that this could turn into the Second American Revolutionary War. And if so, I hope everybody is ready to take up arms, because I'm 100% ready to take up arms if need be. I'm 100% ready to lay my life on the line for our people, for our kids' futures, and for our grandchildren's futures. Because if we are not ready to lay our life on the line, we are going to fail. It is a very slim likelihood that this is going to happen peacefully. This is not for the faint of heart. This is not for weak-minded people. This is not for people who are not ready to see and do things that you normally wouldn't see and do in order for us to get our power back. So for the people that are out there and pushing for us to make moves because of ICE doing what they're doing, because the military being turned against us and used as a agree with me or face the consequences tactic. We are ready to take up arms. I hope you